What's up, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more classical music, and I'm so excited to start this. We're going to react to Beethoven's Third Symphony, the Eroica, which I've actually had a couple different people request. So it really felt like an appropriate time to start it, and I was thinking, are we going to do the Karl Baum Deutsche Grammophon? Because I mentioned the Beethoven vinyl collection I have. It has all 9 symphonies conducted by Karl Baum and the Vienna Philharmonic. But I thought, no, you know what? People who know classical music will know who Otto Klemperer is, a German conductor who actually fled Nazi Germany and came to the United States because he had converted to Catholicism, but he was ultimately Jewish, and he reconverted to Judaism, and so again he sort of fled the Nazi Party, and he came to the U.S. and he started performing the classic German repertoire, and became very popular, and in particular I sort of heard about him because one of the conductors I heard a lot growing up was Herbert von Karajan. And Herbert von Karajan apparently was very thankful to Otto Klemperer. I don't think Otto Klemperer instructed him or taught him, but I know that Herbert von Karajan viewed him as a sort of like a real important, I don't know, like role model, but a living legend, if you will. And he went to see his performance of Beethoven's Third Symphony, the Eroica, under the conduction of Klemperer, and apparently it made a big impact on Karajan. So my understanding is that one of the pieces that Klemperer is particularly known for conducting very well is the Third Symphony of Beethoven. So we're going to look at that. We're going to listen to the Otto Klemperer conduction of what symphony orchestra is it? The Philharmonia Orchestra, of the Third Symphony by Beethoven, originally called the Eroica, or now popularly known as the Eroica. I should mention it was originally dedicated to Napoleon, who Beethoven initially saw as, bringing more modern living and sort of unified standards, and fighting against backward ways of living. But eventually he came to view Napoleon, like many people, as a conqueror and a tyrant, and he rescinded that dedication of the Eroica Symphony and no longer wanted associated with Napoleon. So shout out to Beethoven for sort of, trying to understand a person in a certain way, but eventually realizing that, that was a romanticized notion of him, and, say, you know what, I got that wrong, and I'm not going to have that associated with my art anymore. So I find all of that interesting. One of the reasons I got really into classical music as an adult, after I had, already been listening to it for a long time just by default, is because I'm a historian. I have a couple degrees in history, and so whenever anything that I'm looking at, I want to know, like, where did it come from, and where did that come from, and who was involved, and what happened, and so on. So I'm very interested by the history of composers and conductors and so on. I do have this entire series. It's on EMI Classics. It's called The Klemperer Legacy. Literally, there are all of Beethoven's symphonies in this as well as some other pieces that I think are thrown in on a couple. Like, here's the Ninth Symphony, and there's also Beethoven's Prometheus Overture. And so a few of them, like the one that we're going to listen to, we're going to listen to the Eroica. Well, on the same CD, there's the Gross Fugue, Opus 133. So yeah, they included some other things, but this is essentially a Beethoven symphony series called The Klemperer Legacy on EMI Classics, should you be interested to get this. So here we go. We're going to listen to the first movement, an Allegro con Brio, of Symphony number 3 in E-flat, Opus number 55, commonly referred to as the Eroica, by Ludwig van Beethoven. So here we go. Let me just check really quick to see the year that this was published. It was published, they call it as middle period. Okay, it was composed mainly in 1803 and 1804. And according to music critics who are here quoted on Wikipedia, it broke boundaries in symphonic form, length, harmony, emotional, and cultural content. And it's considered a landmark work in the transition between the classical and the Romantic era. And indeed, is often considered by some to be the first Romantic symphony. Well, there you go. There's your setup. So here we go. This is Otto Klemperer conducting the Philharmonia Orchestra in Beethoven's Third Symphony, the first movement, an Allegro con Brio. complicated palette that we're starting with. It's grand, but it's also like, it feels like we're preparing for something. Like someone's arrival. A hero, maybe. Again, the way he'll take a theme and just wave it through different parts of the orchestra in sequence, ending with the brass there. Beethoven's string writing is like, wondering, like, I don't know the symphony nearly as well as the 7th or the 9th or the 5th or the 6th. The first 3 are the ones I don't know as much, and I probably know this one more than 1 and 2. 1 and 2, I know them, but, you know, probably a few plays over the years as opposed to the 7th or the 9th where I've heard it literally hundreds of times. This is the part I was expecting to hear about a minute ago. Again, it's a celebration of something or someone. That just feels like classic fiery Beethoven, even though this is relatively early or his middle period. But also, again, his writing for strings, he really knows how to use them for power. People will say, like, if you really could time travel in a linear sense, you know, if you were to go back in time, you know, would you just enjoy yourself or would you try to, you know, affect important change? But, like, leaving out that debate, imagine being able to go back and watch a symphony under the conduction of Beethoven himself. Tension in the piece now, less a celebration and more like a conflict, or at least something to be overcome. The layered use of the strings, the high strings doing the kind of, you know, staccato, like fast stuff, and then the lower strings, the cellos, maybe the basses, doing more kind of like supportive work. Shout out to the woodwinds as well. mentioned it before, when I was younger I didn't notice the oboe a lot, but I really love the oboe these days. Uncertain fortunes, like trying times. The timpani is really given the power there. Maybe turning for the better? Maybe victory in sight? Still uncertain. I really like that part. Again, there's a mystery to it now. Sort of heroic again. Powerful. The champion has arrived. A sense of uncertainty, but I do feel like it's shifting toward the more optimistic. Different instrument sections can play a similar theme and give off a very different vibe. The woodwinds carrying that motif, it felt different than the strings. triumphant feel that we started with. How far along are we? I knew it. I was like, this is a long movement. I didn't think we were near the end. We still got like 5 minutes. Beethoven will do that to you. He was the System of a Down of his day, changing tempos and intensities with reckless aplomb. Again, this whole movement has sort of a complex sonic palette, but a couple moments in particular that now we're moving back into more grand kind of feel, but that moment 30 seconds earlier was complicated. That moment in both of its iterations, that was the one thing that stuck out to me from this first movement, just, from recollection. As I said, the first 3 Beethoven symphonies I've heard far less than the others, though I probably have heard this more than 1 and 2. But that was really the only moment that really had burrowed into my brain permanently. Right as it was coming to, this sort of like full resolution, like warm resolution. It is a bit unfortunate that I don't know this piece as well, because it's hard for me to appreciate, at least on a significant level, the way in which Klemperer's interpretation and conduction departs from perhaps others. Feel free to comment below if you sort of have an understanding on a technical level of why that is, or what parts really stand out in that regard. I'd love to hear it if you do. Coming is the part that I thought was coming a minute or 2 ago. We just got a taste of it, I think. This is kind of, but again, the moment I think it's coming, it's sort of wait, no, hold on. As I said, I just remembered this movement ending with a sense of full resolution and confirmation of that triumph. Yes. brass kind of riding a little bit higher than it has, it feels like. Bravo. So yeah, like I said, I'm very excited to go through the symphony, in part because I just don't know it nearly as well as I do some of his other works, including his other symphonies. So yeah, let me know. I know there's at least a couple of you out there that this is, one of your favorite pieces. I think 2 different people have mentioned that, in different reactions of other classical work, pieces that I had done. So I don't think it was in the same comment section, but nevertheless, I really did enjoy that. And again, there were parts where my brain was kind of struggling to articulate sort of a sonic narrative, which is, it's just the way my brain interacts with music, whether we're talking techno or punk rock or classical music. But again, I like that. I like when a piece can be sonically rich and dense and also complicated. But again, the overall tone, I would say, was very triumphant and grand and victorious in the end, even if there felt like peril and struggle along the way. Which again, given the historical context, maybe, he was thinking about the sort of liberation of sort of, at the time, sort of backward parts of Europe as he saw it through Napoleon's endeavors, and then ultimately, came to have a very different understanding of what was happening. But perhaps that helps explain it, at least in part. Again, I would like to know if any of you out there have an understanding of, how Klemperer's conduction and interpretation of, maybe this movement or maybe a different movement really makes his version of the third particularly special and quality rendition. As I said, I don't remember. I know I've listened to that whole 9 symphony set before. Although I say that, maybe some of them I haven't. Either way, I do think I'd like to listen to the Karl Baum version of the third after I'm done. Maybe not here, I don't want to react to the same symphony that I've just done. But on my own time, I might go back and listen to his version of the third and, see just perhaps only the first movement, just see how much it was different from what we just heard. Might be interesting. Nevertheless, I am going to finish off this symphony under this conductor's guidance, if you will. So yeah, we're going to do all the movements of Beethoven's third, Otto Klemperer and the Philharmonia Orchestra. I hope you're here for it. I hope the people who asked for the symphony enjoyed that and, are looking forward to the other ones. I am going to try to keep doing more of these classical reactions on a more rapid scale. I did that Beethoven Symphony number 7 as sort of a test run. It does seem like it got some interaction, people talking, people commenting on all 4 of the movements that I reacted to. So now I've got a few different things going. I got Holst's Planets going in a series. I've got Vivaldi's 4 Seasons. Now I've started another Beethoven Symphony. I'm very excited about this. So please do, if you like this, comment to that effect. Let me know if there's another piece you want to hear. Hit the like button. It does help with, YouTube's algorithms or whatever. I've noticed that the videos that people comment on end up getting way more views after that. So I think that's just part of what YouTube does. So I do appreciate the people commenting, but even if you're just here to watch and not say anything, you're very welcome, and I appreciate you listening and watching. So anyway, have a good day, have a good night, and I will see you next time. Peace.